Hi, good evening, everyone. It's Wednesday night, and we are restarting our game plan. So, we started the game plan last year. I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion we're in. We were just asking each other. Would have a guest that I would invite, one of my good friends, and then checking out like what's their plan for the year and just like what happened with the pandemic, how things have changed, and how we've adapted to this new normal that exists right now. So before I introduce to you guys our guest for tonight, can we say hi to everyone who's watching us tonight? Can you just share where you're watching us from? If you're from San Juan, if you're from Makati, Quezon City, Cebu, Davao, wherever you are in the Philippines, please say hi in our chat box so we can greet you. Hi, Christy. So, good evening. So, it's so exciting that we are restarting it again. And our guest for today is someone I've admired for a long time. She's a very tech smart, business savvy, down to earth woman who is a connector of people and ideas. So, one of the things that she was sharing behind the scenes beforehand is that she is really a person who have tried different businesses, and she has started and failed and succeeded as early as age 16. And she shares the story because she's very proud of her mistakes, because these mistakes has brought her the success that she has today. And since then, she has dedicated her life in helping others succeed. So I hope you guys take this opportunity to chat with us, to interact with us, ask her questions. And what she just shared with me earlier is that she's a productivity nerd. So we will take this opportunity to interview her for productivity tips in this pandemic. So she's the heart and soul of this group that I also admire and I'm part of, which is Connected Women. Let us all welcome the founder of Connected Women, Gina Romero. Hi, Gina.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Thanks for having me here. Exciting.
Yes. So right now, Gina, let's just call in some people and acknowledge them from people all over the Philippines. So flashing some highs and hellos from Mariel from Cagayan Valley, Christy from Cavite, San Miguel, Bulacan. Yay! Bikutan, Paranaque. Good evening, Daisy.
My neighbor.
We also have from Nueva Vizcaya. How's your Tagalog?
Not good. Really not good. Shameful.
So, ayan. So, we have, nice to see yeah, bubbly, always fresh look. Thank you. Just before this, Gina and I were comparing. She was saying like she prepared in 5 minutes putting on her beautiful lipstick. And ako din, as you guys know, very rushed din ako mag-makeup. Like for 5 minutes lang din. So, we have a lot of people. Oh, wow. We have greetings from Sweden.
Ooh.
And watching from Malabon. Good evening, guys. Thank you for staying with us and watching us for tonight. And I hope you guys learned a lot from our speaker for tonight, Gina. So, Gina, before we start, can you tell us all about Connected Women, since we're broadcasting to our female community here in BDJ?
Sure. Gosh, where do I start with Connected Women? So Connected Women started as a passion project of mine when I was in Singapore. So it was launched in 2013. And I really just wanted to create a space where women could learn about the benefits of technology without feeling intimidated. I just met so many women. I mean, I was already running women's communities, but not specifically focused on tech. And I met so many women who had really big ideas, but then for some reason they seemed to be afraid to follow through. So I thought, I wonder why they're afraid to grow this bigger, to pursue this in a bigger way. And initially I thought it was because they were sort of lack the drive or lack the ambition, but wasn't that. Sometimes it was really they were afraid of the technology component of building up a business. So Connected Women was really to help women feel more comfortable and adopt technology so they could be more successful in their business or in their life. And it just kept evolving. So I'll tell you more about where it is now a little bit later.
So last year we were all caught off guard with the pandemic. Where were you at this time last year, like February 2020? What were
Oh
your
my gosh.
plans pre-pandemic?
It's so funny because I was just reflecting about this before our call, because I was preparing for our International Women's Day event. So this time last year, we were preparing for the biggest Connected Women event ever, which was the Women in the Future of Work conference, and happening in March. And it was starting to get a little bit, worrying, because the pandemic was breaking out globally, and it wasn't yet
Yes.
announced as a pandemic, right? It was just this sort of outbreak of something that happens somewhere else. But then the
Yes.
news, right? It's like, it's not going to come here. But then the news kept, escalating. And then I think around about this time, people were starting to worry about whether or not we could still hold events. And of course, Connected
Correct.
Women's Spirit is like, push through, push through. So we were still going to push through at this moment in time. We were still full steam ahead.
And then when was the schedule of your event in March
It was like
last year?
second week of March, I think.
Second week
So,
of
or something
March.
like that. Or, yeah. So it was, I think when was the lockdown announced? The lockdown was announced about mid-March. So I think it was about
Mid-March, yes.
1.5 to 2 weeks just after the lockdown. So once the lockdown was announced, I think we decided to cancel, and then the community quarantine was announced like the day after. So right at the last minute.
Oh my
Stressful.
God. Yeah, I'm sure that was super stressful. So given that a lot of things has happened, like March, so it's how many months? I lose track of time. So 10, 11 months since the lockdown happened. Like, how has life changed for you?
Well, my personal life, if I'm really honest with you, hasn't changed that much. Oh my gosh, that's a really sad thing to admit live. But, our family are really geeky. Like, we're not very sociable. We don't really go out much unless it's for work or work travel. We don't really have like in real life friends. All our friends are virtual. So personally, I don't think it's really affected me. I mean, I actually quite like just being locked down, as long as I don't think about what's actually happening, right? But if it's just being in my house, I like it. But I mean, I think our business, the Connected Women business model has changed, a lot since last year. We had to change to survive. I mean, there was a point last year that, like many businesses, we didn't even know if we were going to be able to make it through the year. But yeah, with just
Correct,
some
correct.
difficult decisions, swift changes, and just, I think, grit more than anything, we survived so far. So
So, what could you share with us? Like, what were some of the things that you guys did to like adapt to the changes in this new normal?
So I think the first thing, like everyone was in shock, right? So our
Yes,
first concern was like the community, like our community members were immediately impacted by the lockdown, those who were losing their income. So the first thing we started thinking about was, how do we help these women? Because we had our job matching platform and our events and programs, and the job matching platform was still very early. It was still in like, you know, just about beta stage, and it hadn't taken off yet. I mean, we were still building it. And when the pandemic hit, our clients, our target clients, the MSMEs, they couldn't hire. They weren't thinking about hiring or expanding. They were
yeah,
also trying to figure out what
correct.
was happening.
How to
So
survive.
yeah, so that was on standstill. So the first thing, we had to kind of like rethink that core part of our business. But the other side was, how can we rethink the business that really serves those most in need right now? So we moved away completely from that sort of freelancing space and focused on the underskilled women in like low income groups, or those who had been displaced. And so that was a completely different program.
That's so inspiring. So, I think that's actually one of the things that I admire with Connected Women regarding like really helping, like reaching the different and in all parts of the country to be able to help them in terms of adapt to all the technology that we have. So, Gina, you were sharing like this vision, your big vision for connected women, and I guess how it changed. You shared that it was more on that now you're serving instead of the SMEs, you just focus a bit more in terms of reaching more Filipinas. Do you have other programs that you would want to promote in terms of your from in this angle or in this, I guess, objective? Or that how will other people or how would Bellas would want to participate in these programs?
Yeah. So, well, we change some of the things that we do, but we never change the vision and the mission. So, our mission really is to be that leading community for Filipino women to be able to be economically empowered. I think more than anything. I mean, we want to empower women in all different ways, but economic empowerment is so important. Once you can earn, once you know how to survive, earn enough money to survive on your own or feed your family, then that is in effect really empowering. And I think at all levels, women struggle with economic empowerment, right? I mean,
Yeah.
even if you look,
Mm-mm.
I've met many women who are very wealthy, right? You see them as privileged, wealthy women, but in reality, they're not, they're dependent on their husbands or their family
Correct,
income.
correct.
And so it puts them in a position where they're not happy or empowered in their life because they can't make the decisions that they want to make. So everything we do at Connected Women is really geared towards helping women share, connect, work, and learn. And so we do have programs for women at all different areas. We have our meetups, which is it used to be every 6 weeks in-person gatherings in your local city, and
Yes.
those are all volunteer-led.
Mhm.
But of course, we had to stop those. And last year, we took a bit of a break from the volunteer-led meetups just because it was chaos. And we ran some global sort of meetups where everyone could join, but Connected Women team ran it. But this year we're relaunching those. So we just had the first small relaunch of the Connected Women meetups online at the end of Jan. And then the next kind of bigger round will be at the end of March. So if you want to meet with women in your local community to talk about tech, to talk about career, business, then look out for the Connected Women meetups that happen online now.
You mentioned something about the economic and empowerment. What would you say, like, if you were to give an advice for the the Bella community are usually around 20s to 30s, up to 40s. So what would you share, like, all about economic empowerment, like any tips that you could share with us?
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to know how to earn, right? Even if you're in a really great situation where you don't really need to earn, if you're lucky enough to be in that situation, but it's always good to know how to earn. So, like with my kids who are like, my oldest two are like 18 and 20, I want them to know how to earn. I'm actually more concerned about that than them going to university. So, my 20-year-old was supposed to have gone to the UK last year to go to uni, but he got locked down. So I was like freelancing. So he does freelance video editing. And,
Nice.
at least he can do that anywhere. And he can always buy his own stuff and he doesn't have to ask me for anything, right? So I think that's really important.
Mhm.
And I think even if you don't know how to earn, you could try side hustles and just passion projects that help you learn a little bit of like entrepreneurship maybe, or even jobs
Mhm.
that you do on the side, right? Little micro work jobs and things like that. But definitely always have a little backup plan of how you would earn a little bit of extra money for whatever you might need.
What are the top side hustles that you would recommend for the Filipina?
Oh, I love this question. Gosh, there's so many. I mean, I find that we Filipinos are very entrepreneurial in nature, even if many deny it. So, a lot of people say, "Oh, no, 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 I don't know how to start a business. I'm not a businesswoman." And then you ask them, like, "Well, do you do any side projects or anything?" They say, "Oh, yeah, I'm buying and selling this. I'm doing this. I have this. I bake cakes. I sell this to my neighbors." And I'm thinking, you have like 10 small businesses happening. But there are a lot. I mean, right now, there's a lot of opportunities despite the challenges. There's so much hyper local buying and selling, right? Like in your local food,
Yes, yes.
local groups,
Mhm.
like food items, artisan type homemade food. So that's one thing if you love to cook. And then, of course, freelancing. I was just having this conversation with my other son because he's now, finishing his high school this year, and he's also in a position that he has no idea what to do with his life with everything that's happened. And I said, just study the different online platforms, because there's probably some small obscure niche that you can find, that you can do
Yeah.
some job that people will pay you for, right? You have to look around and see what's out there and see what you kind of enjoy doing.
Okay. So
Mhm.
I don't know if you have questions for me, but later on maybe you can ask me questions so it's not just one way.
If I start asking you questions, I will not stop asking you questions. I have so many questions about you happening in my mind. So my question for you, you've opened up this
It's
dam
okay.
now.
Go.
My question for you is, how did you end up doing what you do? Like, how does someone end up in a planner business? Because I can't figure it out.
So actually we have a similar story. I actually also started from failure. So when I graduated from college, I wanted to be like a marketing director for a multinational. And I also took up accounting. So I had an accounting degree and I took the board. So I did it simultaneously in my first year out of college. I went to the corporate world, and I did my board exam at the same time. And during that, I don't know, crazy 6 months, I crashed and failed. And the reason that when I was processing myself after everything happened, was that the reason was I said like, oh, maybe I didn't manage my time that well. So it was a crazy reason that I blamed myself for. So I said, okay, to manage my time better, I read like time management books and I designed my own planner. So this is
You're like my,
despite
my
during that
twin
time.
sister from another dimension.
So that started everything. So I created my own planner. My friends like said like, "Oh, Dar, you should sell this." And then I started off with that. And then I guess a lot of people resonated in having a lifestyle planner wherein it's a planner that actually fits their lifestyle, not just any other planner that you have out there. And that's, I guess, where it took me from one planner, one product to another. And we want to be able to reach all Filipinos also and inspire them to plan and create lives that they love. So that's why I loved your advocacy with Connected Women on economic empowerment, because that's part of the conversation when we're empowering women, when we're empowering them on their dreams. And one of the things that we also say in BDJ is that, of course, all of us, all Filipinos and a lot of Filipinas actually take on the responsibility on supporting their families. So that's a lot of the profiles that we have. And then that actually boils down to sometimes that because of all the many responsibilities that we carry, we forget to dream for ourselves.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that's where
We
we
are so
not.
aligned. Yeah.
So that's why I've been wanting like, let's go, let's do this, let's do like whatever project that
I
we can
knew
do.
it wasn't about stationery. I just knew it. I was like, there's a reason behind this. It's not just a stationery company, right? And I think, yeah, I don't think either of us, a lot of the things that both of us do are probably not to be taken at face value, right? There's something under there driving it. Yeah, that's so cool. Thanks for sharing that. Do you want me to ask you more questions?
I'll ask you one more question first though. With I think it's related to like a lot of the Bellas are experiencing right now. Um it's on remote work. So you guys in Connective Women, since you mentioned like on the tech platform and something that you've been encouraging a lot of Filipinos to go into for their economic empowerment, how do you manage, or I guess do you have tips on remote work for all of us who were just taken by surprise by this pandemic, and suddenly like I was telling my team and the meetings I had just had before today, like at this time last year I was actually being interviewed by GMA 7, and they were asking me, what do you think about work from home? And I was telling them, oh, I don't think it will work for our company. And then, oh my God, like
You and so
after,
many other people.
yes. And a month later, I had to eat my words. And here we are, 11, 12 months later.
You can make it work, right? Oh gosh, I have so much to say. And actually, while you were talking, I was calculating how long I have been doing remote work for, and it's like 20 years now, I think. Crazy. So Bobby and I, my husband and I, we used to run an IT company in the UK, right? We started this side hustle, just buying and selling like laptops and IT equipment, and then Wi-Fi sort of started emerging, and it was more for corporates, right? The big companies and maybe some of the big cafes and things like that. But it wasn't something that you had in your house. And so we embarked on a journey of becoming Wi-Fi experts, and we started setting up home, Wi-Fi connections and things like that. But I was actually cabin crew. So I was cabin crew for British Airways for 10 years of my life, flying long
Wow.
haul. And when Bobby and I started up our side hustle business, I was still flying. We actually started it when I was on maternity leave with our second kid. And so really, when I needed to go back flying, and just for financial reasons, we already had a business running. So we started building remote solutions for me so that I could work while I was flying all around the world. So I would,
Wow.
yeah, so I was like a really advanced remote worker. And so I would go, to New York. I would sit down at the desk in the hotel, and I would like set up my laptop, and then I would basically remote desktop into my office and print out all the invoices for my engineers to issue to the clients, right? But for me, that was very liberating, because it's not really about, well, we call it remote work now, but the term that I like to use is location independence. It means that you can do something from anywhere, right? Not necessarily work from home, not necessarily remotely, but from anywhere. And, that was, for me, that was very empowering, because it meant I could fly, I could run my business, I could, do everything that I needed to do. And so we started bringing those solutions to clients. And it took so long, actually. It took actually a global pandemic for companies to adopt it, right? In full.
Yes, like us.
Yeah, but I've been advocating for remote work for all these years. Even Connected Women actually started with, a
Yes.
big part of its advocacy back in Singapore around creating remote and flexible work for women. So, but I think right now, what's really, really important to know is that what you're experiencing currently is not the normal location independent work, because we're not location independent, right? We're stuck at home.
Yes.
So that's what I want everyone to take away tonight, that what you're experiencing, if you're locked down, that's not location independent. So of course it feels horrible, because you're stuck here with your kids, you're stuck here with, everyone in your family, not giving you space probably, and there's no boundaries, and it never ends, right? So don't judge negatively the idea of location independent work because of what you're experiencing right now. But there are ways to cope for sure.
Since you mentioned some ways to cope, like maybe you can give us some tips given your 20 years of experience in
It's
remote
quite
working or
scary when I keep
like
adding up these years.
what are your tips on how to be productive or how to stay sane and in this kind of work?
Yeah, there's so many ways, but I think the number one reason that I've found that people are not able to work productively is because of boundaries. Just because of boundaries,
Boundaries,
right? If
yes.
you're at home, then people don't tend to. My family's a little bit different, because I've worked from home for their whole life, right? So they understand that my home is my office. But if they're used to you
Correct.
being out at work, or work, doing other things, and then when you come home, you're at home, then they feel that that's their space now, right? You're in their space, I guess,
Correct.
especially if you're a
Correct.
mom with kids, and or if you have like older relatives who are demanding. So I
Mhm.
think, setting the boundaries and explaining exactly what it is that you do, because sometimes I'm on my phone a lot. Like I don't like to. I stand at my desk so that I don't sit all day, and then I walk around and I'm on my phone, like looking at my phone, and it doesn't look like work, right? If you're just looking at your phone all the time. So I often tell my family, like, okay, today I have like important meetings, and if it's like an important person, I'll tell them like, oh, I'm meeting the ambassador of damn it, on a call today. So they're like, wow, mommy's work is not just standing at her computer in her top but house shorts. Or I'll say, I have interviews and stuff like that. But I try to give them a little window into the work that I do and why it's important that they give me space.
So boundaries, and number two, like get them, like give them a peek, just a peek, so that somewhat they can understand like the work that you're doing. That's very that's it's hard to explain to my 3-year-old though. Like
Oh
what
yeah, sorry, I got no tips for that. bribery. No, bribery doesn't even
bribery.
work that well on 3-year-olds, right? They are so fixed in their mind at 3 that bribes don't even work.
Yes, because like toddlers are the natural leaders. Like that's have you heard of that?
No, but it's so true. The minute you said it, I realized it was true.
I learned it in a coaching seminar or workshop. Like the best leaders in the world, the ones who are so confident about themselves and very clear with their goal, they're actually toddlers. So as
So
we grew
true.
older, we actually lose that confidence and that sense of self that we had when we were toddlers.
Oh my gosh, you don't want to
So
meet the toddler version of me, that's for sure. I should bring her out more. Yeah, but how are you coping then? Because you said that you didn't have this, you weren't really inclined towards the remote work for your business, and now you have no choice. So it's been like a year, I guess, since you got locked down. So how have you adjusted with the team?
we actually, well, to be honest, I also love technology ever since before. So even if we were using even before when I designed planners, I'm one of the people who actually use a Palm, the fake version of the Palm Pilot, the visor. I don't know if you've remembered like all those versions. So I was like very much into tech. We were already considering in our company to move on remote. We were using the Google Suite, the Microsoft Suite. So we were already planning how to do it more, I guess, cloud based. It was just in a way fast forward that, and then at the same time, I guess how we adjusted was that we were trying to do like our virtual meetings or in everyone we try to check in on each other. That helped us a lot. So it's our version of a meetup. In a way, when we started during our work at home, we were all just trying to navigate this new remote work setup. And then we were lucky enough that we have a team that were just dedicated to survive or committed to survive. Because during that time when the lockdown started, we decided that we're going to do 2 weeks. But after 2 weeks, it seemed like it's going to be 1 month. And after 1 month, it seemed like it's going to be like 2 months and then three
Yeah.
months. And we didn't have long runway in terms of funds. So it was like very stressful on our end, on my end, because I had to think about like how to make sure that we're able to give salaries to everyone. But given that I guess, in a way, reading the news and just sharing information with each other as a company, it helped us a lot. And everyone just contributed in one way or another how to make things work. Each of the teams just figured out, okay, I guess this is what we can do together. This is what we can do. And it helped us survive. And definitely all the technology that you were mentioning on what's available out there that we have not maximized, we maximized during this time.
I was just
Work
going to say that,
collaborative.
like, you have to use the tools to have a good
Exactly.
remote work sort of environment and culture. You have to, not all the tools, but some of the tools, and maximize them.
So actually, that's what we did. We got into this platform. We used migrated to Microsoft Teams, and then everything, all the conversation, and we did training also. Because of course, how can we suddenly jump into this platform and nobody knows how to use it? So we did that, and then that was like part of our transition stage. It was a bit challenging because we also didn't know how to maximize. and it can get overwhelming. So I can resonate, I can feel like what other Filipinas are feeling, like, oh my god, the tech, I have to understand all these things. And you feel like the internet in the Philippines is so bad, then you
Yeah.
have to all
But
make
and yet
shift
look,
all.
we all survived so far.
Yes, exactly,
Fingers
we all
crossed.
survive.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
good. It's been
So
great. I mean, I think it's been great in many ways. I mean, it's been horrible and tragic and heartbreaking in so many ways. And as soon as I start thinking about all those tragedies, I start crying, even if I'm doing like some live interview and my eyes start welling up. But I try to, of course, focus on positive things as much as possible. But I think it really has
mhm,
been a great catalyst for change, right? These
correct.
very dramatic kind of like traumas that happen, whether they're dramatic traumas that happen to you personally in your life, if you think back on your life, or if it's like a societal big shift that happened because of something like a disruption like this. But generally speaking, it is a good catalyst for changing for the better, right? And I think I can see a lot of people working towards that positive change now, which is very inspiring.
Correct, correct. I think we have some questions for you, Gina. So there's a question
Uh-oh.
here from Isabel. If you have a small space at home and you share your workstation with people, how do you recommend we try to focus? I think your productivity nerd is being asked to come out.
Oh, I love that. So, well, I think there are a few different ways that you can do it. You could either have some rotation system where some, like the workspace is a designated quiet space, for example, and there's other rooms that are for like noise or music or sound or whatever else. That's one thing. Or you could shift the rotation so that people move around because you don't have to be at a desk, right? A workspace. I move from my standing desk. So whenever I have meetings or interviews or anything, I'm at my standing desk. And then when I have my internal sort of team meetings and things like that, I take my laptop to the living room. So I'm more relaxed. I just sit on my sofa. Bobby's desk is like there in the living room on the other side. So I can annoy him as well while he works. And I play music out there, So I think you can, even in a small space, you can move it around a little bit. So you're not both like yelling on the phone at the same time or something like that. But set boundaries with the people that you share with. I think that's the most important thing. I hope you share with people that you can sort of talk to and come up with a plan together.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's very important right now, like developing the system in your work from home setup,
Systems.
and I guess test out like which one will really work and be more productive for you. So there's another here question from Christy. So she's a working mom struggling to fit in this techie life.
I wish I could ask
How will
Christy
I
some
manage?
questions back so that I could answer the question better. Well, so
So she has a
Christy, what
follow
is
up,
your
like, I mean,
job?
where do I start?
What is your job? You say that you're not techie, but can you tell me like what is it that you do? She's a
Let's
working
see.
mom. I wonder what she does. I'm so curious. Um, I guess it depends what your role is, right? So if you're a sort of you were from an office-based environment and then you're transitioning online, most of the things that you do are going to be similar, right? Except now you have to manage your own IT, so that's really challenging. Even for me, I've been in technology for years and years. Oh, Christy, my heart is just sending you love right now. I don't know how teachers are coping, honestly. Whatever you're doing, you're amazing. Whatever you're doing, no matter how much you're struggling, we appreciate you and you're amazing. Look, I'm going to start crying. I'm so sad. I don't know how teachers are coping. I would have strangled all my children if I had to teach them without the support of the school. It's really hard,
Yes,
right?
correct.
It's a completely
It's really
different
hard.
world. I don't know the answer. I'm sorry. Um, you know, there must be, I think, get support. That's my best answer. Like, other teachers are struggling too. Other people in other professions are struggling too. So don't struggle through on your own. I don't know if your group,
Yes,
is supportive or your sort of your team
your
at work is
school.
supportive.
Hmm.
But even if you don't feel that you can voice out your concerns or your struggles with them, there are other teachers, right, that are also going through this. So find groups of people that can kind of like support you and share tips with you about how they're managing. Yeah, it's hard for
Yeah,
teachers.
I agree. Also can't imagine it like being a teacher at this time.
And the kids
So
are
we have
so technical, right? The kids are so technical. Like my son's 10, like he knows how to like, hack stuff and like configure stuff, and like they know so much a lot of the time at the young age. So when you're a teacher and you're trying to manage them in their world, technology is their world, it's so hard because they know more than you know. So, but I think that's one thing that I would say, it is their world. So don't be afraid to get them to help you as well and give you tips and ideas,
Oh
the
yeah.
kids.
Okay. So we have here a question from Chico Santos. Like, how do you find the balance with your work schedule, family time, errands, personal growth, especially now that boundaries are sort of invisible across these priorities?
If I could share my calendar screen with you right now, you would see a horrific losing game of Tetris happening before your very eyes. I block everything in my calendar. I'm a lunatic. You can see color
Me
coding,
too.
like exercise. You do it as well. Yay, my twin. Like exercise. Read your emails now. Get up now. So I have all these like calendars in my calendar, personal one, my ideal schedule. I even put things like DNS, like do not schedule for my team so they don't block meetings, dinner, and then I manage it all as much as I can, like with military precision. But it doesn't always work. It doesn't always go according to plan. So then I'm just like, I drink. Sorry, that's a terrible tip.
No, I
um,
think it's but that
yeah.
yeah, I agree with that. Like I also tell my team that you need to put in your calendar the personal time or sometimes even the task that you need to do. Let's say if you're doing working on the project and you don't want people to schedule in and interrupt you there, like block off the time.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm a
should show you. My
believer.
calendar is crazy, but I have different ones. So there's the one that's the ideal calendar of how it should all look if it all fits into the blocks, and then there's the personal one,
That
and then
actually
there's the
happened.
work one. Yeah, the one that actually happened, and I can clearly see where it went horribly wrong. So then I adjust. Like the next week, I'm like, we can't do this again.
Yeah. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, actually, that's a great tip that if you actually document these things, you more or less see like where the gaps or points of improvement, which wherein you can improve on the following week.
Yeah, and I also in my work I try to manage my time in blocks that make sense. So I try not to have any calls in the morning because calls drain me. So I make sure that in the morning I try to not have calls, or if I do have a call, it'll be like at 11. So I have 2 hours in the morning to just go through all my thoughts, my plans, and I need to process everything before I can be effective. If I start my day with calls all morning, then I'm just in a state of chaos. I can't think properly. And then in the afternoon, I just put all my calls
Nice.
in. And then Monday and Friday, I don't have meetings or calls if I can help it. So I try and cram everything in like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday afternoon. And then, sorry, I got to tell you more. So Monday, I eat the frog, right? All the stuff like the management stuff, the finance stuff, the stuff that I don't personally enjoy doing, I try and clear it on the Monday. That's why I block my Monday. And then my
Yeah.
Fridays where I put all the stuff that I love to do, right? Like my creative stuff, my design stuff. So as the week goes on, my week gets progressively better. So by Thursday,
Yes.
I'm like, woohoo, weekend.
You're really my twin.
Oh my gosh, it's so
That's
weird, right?
exactly how my Monday goes.
I won't call you on
That's
a
exactly
Monday
my
then.
Monday schedule.
Eat the frog.
Yes. So yeah, I eat the frog. So all the crazy stuff, the things that need to be it does get better for me also. So Monday, Tuesdays, no meetings for me from we're just really recalibrating for with the team, just making sure that everything we're on the same page with what needs to be done for the week. And
Mhm.
then as it progresses, it becomes more fun. And Fridays is a bit freer. I try to keep Fridays also as free as possible. Just so it will segue to the weekend.
Yeah, that's a great way to live. I wish I discovered it much earlier in my life.
So there's a question from Jean. Is it all right to actually stop looking at your emails after office hours, even if you're in a work and home setup?
So I think that's an interesting question because in theory, if you're working 9 till 6 and you're paid for 9 till 6 and that's your
You should
productive
stop.
time, right? It's not about the pay, but I mean that's your productive block of time for work, or 9 till 5 or whatever. technically you should be giving yourself time off in the evening, right?
Correct.
Because
Correct.
that's your time. But
Correct.
I think in reality, that's not really how it works, right? So I think it's really important to have flexibility. I mean, there are times how our team likes to work, or how I hope that our team work, is that they have, some people might have a split schedule where they work early morning till say 11, but then they take a couple of hours off after lunch because they have kid related family stuff to do, and then work
Yes.
again in the afternoon and later. So I think as an entrepreneur, you work when you can, like when you can focus. And if it's not a time that you can focus, then you shouldn't be working. You should be just doing whatever it is that you need to do, and then get back to the work later in the evening or whatever, right? Duh.
Yes.
Um, but in the if you're employed, then it feels a little bit different. It depends on how your employer would value that, I guess. But for me as an employer, I value people that work when they are most productive, and when they can
Yes.
focus best and get the job done, right?
Mm-hmm. Nice. There. We have a follow. So
So
a
many
follow up.
questions. I think this is the most
There's a
number of
lot of
questions I've
questions.
ever had on a talk.
Everybody
um,
wants to learn from you, Gina.
I think they're
So
trying
this
to learn
question:
from you as well. You're the planner queen.
how do you respectfully tell your teammates that you are practicing work-life harmony, feeling a bit overwhelmed because of most of my work from home and every day they extend their working hours?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I've just finally managed to sit down with my team, like one on one. Every day I have a one on one team call or catch up, just so that I can go through everyone's kind of situation. Because one of the real challenges of working from home, even for someone who's a seasoned remote work sort of leader, is it's really hard to know if someone is struggling, right? It's really hard to know if
Yes,
someone is overloaded. So with my team, we know each other really well, and I know that they're more likely to overload themselves than to kind of like not work,
unnerving.
right? Yeah.
Correct.
So
Agree.
I'm always worried that they're getting overloaded, and I wouldn't know it. And of course, some people are more vocal. They'll talk to me and say, "How do you want me to prioritize this? Because I don't think I can get all of it done this week." So that helps me a lot, because I'll say, "Well, wait, hang on. Don't worry about that. That can wait. Let's leave that for now and just focus on this, because this is important." Because priorities change all the time in some companies, right? In our company. Um, but yeah, I think it's important to share. But you can share it in such a way that doesn't sound like you're complaining. So you can say something like, I have quite a heavy workload this week, and a few priorities that are conflicting. And I wanted to know which one of these that I should really focus on for now, and which ones can wait till next week. Or could I possibly offload some of these tasks to X teammate for now, so that I can focus on this one important job, because I really need to get this done before the deadline, something like that. It's like role
Yeah,
play. You could do a role play.
role play. Yeah, I think
I
it's so
was just
important.
both people.
One of the things that we're trying to practice also in remote work in our company is visible teamwork. So I don't know if you were
Mm.
able to. I don't know. I was like trying to understand more about remote work and how to we can work with each other. So with the visible teamwork is that sometimes we have this tendency that we don't want to show our work when it's not finished. So what we're trying to normalize in our company, so even if it's not finished, you show it to your teammates. You just are talking about the work and just being vulnerable. I guess that okay, I know it's not perfect, it's still messed up, it's still a draft, but that way people can actually contribute to your output, contribute. So that's where we feel the collaboration can actually happen. And what's good about it, since they know or they see where you are in the working scenario, chances are, especially, well, I would like to assume, or I hope like majority of the people that you work with would more or less adjust and help you get things done.
Yeah.
So just
People
because
do want
that's
to help.
visibility, yeah, people would
Yeah.
exactly. I also believe that people, when they see things, like when they see something is wrong, they actually would want to help more rather than just ignore you drowning in all that work. So
Yeah.
it's just more important to just communicate it with them.
I think transparency is so important, like making sure that Actually, we're like a super transparent team, and we have been for a long time. So we have a lot of, like the types of tools that we use allow, because we're a small team, so it's easy to manage it. But we do have everything visual, right? All our tasks are kind of like in a shared board where we can see. So it's very easy to see when the person is getting very overloaded, and just shout for help. And I think the team also mostly admit that they tend to wait until they're already overwhelmed before they ask for help. So I think for everyone, right, that delegating and then asking for help is something that doesn't always come naturally. So you have to practice those two things for sanity's sake.
Yes. So, Gina, you were sharing with me earlier that you're a productivity nerd. So, why did you say, or why would you call yourself a productivity nerd?
I just value time so much. Like, I love to maximize every minute of my day. That's not to say that I'm productive every minute of my day, but I mean, like, I like to be fast. I like to get ready quickly. Everything really. Like my shower routine is like, my system is so down that I can be fast. Like,
Wow.
even like how I undo my shampoos, like I'll only use the shampoos that are like that, or I'll just take the lid off. I'll break the lid off a shampoo if it's like the type that I have to unscrew every time, because I just want to grab it and like that's why my hair is short. I can't have long hair because take too long. I don't do like shampoo, conditioner. No, I do baby wash. Baby wash everywhere. That's it. That's my one shower item. Terrible. Shared too much. You can still edit this, right? Just kidding.
We're live. So, do you have like productivity tips in general for whether it's remote work, I guess, or and not remote work, but I don't know, like in general. Like,
My
what are your
best
maybe
productivity
top
tip?
five? Yeah,
Huh? My top
top
5?
five
Oh my
productivity
gosh.
tips. Yeah.
I mean, my number one productivity tip is really minimalism. I embraced minimalism, having had to move internationally twice, and my dad was, my dad was a British son of immigrants who were war refugees from Europe into the UK. And so he was raised by that generation of people who didn't throw anything away, like nothing, right? Like just a little screw. I'm sure that many of you can relate with our grandparents, our parents, right? Fortunately, my dad was extremely tidy and organized. So he had everything, like all the all the stuff that he collected was all in little boxes, labeled. That's not my natural tendency to be that organized, but he just had so much stuff. If I had that much stuff, I would be living in a pile of it, because I'm not good at keeping tidy in that way. So what I did to compensate was I just don't have much stuff. Like, I have as little stuff as possible. And I find the less stuff I have, the more productive I am. So it really is, minimalism really does contribute, I think, to being more productive.
Productivity.
That's 5 tips
I
in
think
one.
because it's less distractions.
Yeah, even
For
clothes.
sure.
Like, most of you will probably notice that I pretty much just wear the same stuff all over over and over again. And my wonderful co-founder Ruth is constantly sending me boxes of clothes, which I never open. I think she gets uncomfortable and thinks that, I just don't, well, I don't like shopping, and I'm not really that interested in clothes. But for me, it's like if I have 3 or 4 things hanging in my cupboard and I just grab them and wear them, it's like one less thing to actually think about deciding. But that's just me.
Yeah.
I'm not encouraging you all to do that.
I also have like similar. Usually, when I like a dress or something, I buy it in 3 colors, so I just like wear it and then just alternate.
Yes.
So
It just makes so much sense. Why have the stress of making another decision when you could actually eliminate that decision by having less stuff?
So that's your tip on minimalism to apply in everything in your life.
Yeah, simplify. Just keep simplifying. Even my desk, like my phone and stuff like that. Like on my phone, I will basically regularly clear up like my home screen. Can you see? Like, if I don't use it every day, I don't want it there. Same with my desk. If I don't use it every single day, it doesn't need to be on my desk space. So things like that, I think, help a lot because you're not always fumbling through stuff to to find what you need.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I definitely agree. Although I'm not as minimalist as I'd like to be, but as much as I can, I do that also.
Well, when you can't, there's cupboards, right? You just stuff it in the cupboard and
Then
close
hide
the door,
everything.
and then just don't open it.
Don't
I'm
see
also
it.
not perfect. I have a whole load of junk that I haven't managed to clear up, but at least I can't see it. So,
Yeah, just like my husband's stuff. Like I just don't want to see it. Please hide everything.
oh no, don't even get me
So
started on my husband. He's so messy. I can't believe that I'm still with him actually after all these years. Sorry, husband. He's really the opposite of me. Like he's so messy and he doesn't even sense it. But also minimalism helped with that because now he has less stuff. So now he can't make that much mess. So
okay. I think Gina, you said earlier you have some more questions for me. Do you want to like take a stab at it?
oh, I lost my thread now. What was it? We went so far in a completely different
Sorry.
direction that I can't remember. Let me think. Wait, I need
Planners on
time.
how I started.
So what are you doing this year? Because you're kind of stuck at home. So you can't do a lot of the non-planner related stuff like your community building
Correct.
and your events. So, I
Correct.
mean,
Correct.
offline. So how are you going to tackle that? Because you have this huge active community as well.
Yeah, essentially we're also we're just doing the online route. So we're developing all these programs that we have, like for this one or the BDJ studio. We're also planning different programs on different topics to just help our community cope under what's happening right now. We want to be able to really encourage people to journal a bit more. So that's something that we want to be able to talk about or educate more, because like some of the things that people would say like, oh, I don't need a planner because I don't have a plan. So it's kind of
Oh,
scary and sad at the same time. So actually, Gina, I don't know if I shared this with you, but before the pandemic, 7 out of 10 Filipinos actually don't dream anymore. So they
yeah,
stop
I
dreaming.
heard that. So sad.
And the number one reason is actually lack of encouraging words. So they're just generally discouraged, like, oh, don't do that. That doesn't make money. Don't do that. Don't do this. Don't. So it's generally like, the traditional stuff that our parents or society would tell us that this is what you should be doing. And it hasn't like adapted to, I guess, all the technology and all the different possibilities. And I think we need to be able to encourage more of these conversations so that people can see that there are more possibilities, and maybe they'll have more ideas on what else they can do at this time.
Now I know why you were so kind of excited about my Be Unconventional brand, right?
Yes, exactly.
Because it's the same thing. It's like I meet people and they say, "Oh, I wouldn't even know where to start because there's nothing special about me, or I don't really have any purpose." So my story was kind of similar to yours. I posted up on this Connected Women group about a few months back, asking, who has a purpose and knows their purpose. And there were a few people that said, yeah, I'm doing my purpose, I'm getting there. But almost everyone was like, I feel lost, I don't know my purpose, I don't have a direction, or other things that were happening in their life, like more personal things. And I thought to myself, purpose is really overrated, right? Like having your purpose, which is like as if it lights up in neon one day and you see it
Correct,
there and you're like,
correct,
I found my purpose. It
correct.
doesn't really work like that. I think it's kind of misunderstood. Purpose is really just doing purposeful things, right? And those things could be small.
Mhm.
They don't have to be huge things.
Exactly.
I never stood up one day in my life and said, I'm going to build a massive community and then I'm going to be on loads of interviews. Never, right? I just
Exactly.
wanted to help a few people. And because of that, and because I felt a very close connection to helping these people, this small group of people, there was more small groups of people and it just grew. So that's how Connected Women grew. But I feel that I'm doing purposeful things every day, but I don't know if I've achieved my purpose. But I think because I'm doing purposeful things, I feel purposeful. So, it's really simple. Let's not make it too complicated and too unreachable for ourselves.
Yes, I really love that. Have you watched the movie of Pixar, the Soul movie, the cartoon.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I want to watch it.
Okay, I won't like but for me, like part of the lesson is exactly like what you shared, that a lot of people feel like this purpose or this passion has to be like this super super big thing, that groundbreaking thing that I don't know, that really just lights and neon lights, as you said. But it's definitely just the small things that you find, you put the purpose inside it, and how your intention, like how you do about things. And that's why we, for us, like, I, if you would like, if I can share like what I realized last year, for me, my personal transformation as well is all about trusting my joy. So
Mm.
it was a big reminder for me. That was why my biggest lesson during this pandemic, that when I was like panicking with all the business stuff, with everything that needs to be done, all the responsibilities that were on my shoulder, I was forgetting why I started all of these to begin with, to help people, to empower people. And I was forgetting what actually brings me joy. So it's very Con Marie, but on a life setting.
It's true
But
though, isn't it? It's so easy to forget like these things. And I've had times in my life where I started off on track and then I lost, I was completely off track and I didn't even know I was off track, because when you go off track, you
correct.
kind of lose connection to everything, right? And then all of a sudden I wake up in the middle of the night, literally, and I'm thinking, why am I doing this? Like, I'm not happy.
Exactly.
And yeah, and when that happens to you, you have to find the courage, right? Because you've already recognized it, you've already woken up to it. So all you have to do is have the courage at that point to change it, and you can.
Perfect. I super agree. It's not as easy sometimes, but once you've realized it, you're right. It just needs a bit more courage from each of us. And for me, I guess with the Cinderella, be courage. I think courageous and kind, right? Kind, be kind and courageous, something like that. So sorry, my memory is not that good,
No, do
but
you
I
know what?
remember.
Kindness is super underrated as well. Like, a lot of people, like, kindness
Yes.
is such a soft word, right? And it's super underrated. And I rate kindness as one of the traits that I value the most in people, because it doesn't take anything to be
Absolutely.
kind, but it's actually quite hard to be a kind person consistently, right? Because inside us is like gremlins, like the gremlins in our head, the gremlins in our heart, like the resentment that we built up, or whatever it is. And so, you know it's always important, like something that I always remind myself, like, if you're not going to be, like, try and be a kind person first and foremost, and I think everything else from there can follow. But it's definitely hard to practice, and it shows when someone practices kindness, it really glows right out of them.
Correct, correct. And I guess I wanted to remind everyone that as we are trying to also be courageous about our purpose, our day to day stuff, as one thing I would always remind my team and myself is I have to also be kind to myself. Sometimes we judge ourselves too harshly when we're not getting things done, when we feel we're not good enough, when we feel we're so lost and we're so frustrated with ourselves. So always still remember to be kind to yourself.
I think it's easier to be nice to everybody else actually than to yourself. So yeah, that's one of my mantras as well. I learned self-compassion after going through like a very traumatic event, and being really at rock bottom in my life. I mean, I was super rock bottom. I couldn't be any lower than that. And I definitely learned self-compassion, because if I didn't, then I would have given up. And so yeah, self-compassion. And something else, which is such an obvious thing, is don't kill your own ideas, right? So my son, my youngest, who's 10, came to the lunch table earlier, right? And he goes, Mommy, I've got an idea, but it's impossible. And I said, dude, you just killed,
Having
in the same sentence, you just had an idea and killed your own idea. And like, I have an idea. Oh, it's okay. I killed my idea. Like, don't, you gotta kill those negative mosquitoes. I call them mosquitoes, the negative voices, right, in your head that are quick to
mhm,
shut
mhm.
down your ideas before you've even explored it. give yourself a bit of opportunity to creatively explore an idea before you dismiss it as ridiculous or impossible. And especially if it's other people telling you that it's ridiculous or impossible. I've never, ever, ever had good advice from a person that told me that an idea was ridiculous or impossible.
Or impossible.
The people that give you good advice generally are the ones that say, you know what, figure it out, right? Go for it, try.
Correct, correct. Actually, I love that mosquito like negativity. Like one of the things that we try to I guess encourage when people are writing. Sometimes when you're writing your goals, or you have this or we naturally have this tendency to edit ourselves. Like we want to make sure that it's perfect, it's like the right word, all of these things. And then like you'd wonder why you would have a mental block. And I would say the reason we have mental blocks is because we keep on editing ourselves. Like instead of just letting the ideas flow, we judge our ideas like, oh, it's impossible, oh, it's ridiculous or something like that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we keep on encouraging people is that when you have ideas, just write it down, just keep on writing. No matter, I don't know, no matter how ridiculous you think it is or no matter how impossible, just to keep on writing. And
And actually, our brain is
somehow,
already made like that. Like we're already born with a brain that has like the creative, strategic, side on the right where you can think about all these different things, and then the side on the left that will actually try and make it happen into a plan. And I know that some people will say, "Oh, well, I'm not creative," or "Oh, I'm not good at planning." But we have this whole brain.
correct. Yes.
So we have to maximize that as well. Of all the tools, right? We have this amazing brain that we can strengthen up and leverage on.
And make things happen.
Yeah.
So I guess we're reaching the end of our program. So thank you so much, Gina, for sharing so much wisdom and insights with us. And I think we have a shout out from Isa to you specifically.
Aw, thank you,
That you're such an
Isa.
inspiration. Before we go, any last words or tips for 2021 on, I don't know, maybe conquering our 2021 and having a better year for 2021?
Well, the great thing about any day when you wake up and you're still alive is that you have a new blank sheet of paper in front of you to start to create your life again, right? So I think, whether it's 2021 or January is over and it's now Feb, or whether you just wake up tomorrow, just remember that you can begin again anywhere. So, have courage to find that purpose or find a purposeful activity that you can do in your life that makes you happy and brings you joy, exactly what Dar said. And remember that you can always change a plan or start again.
Yes.
And don't let anyone tell you that that's not true. At any age, by the way. Oh my gosh, so many Filipinas are like, oh, but I'm too old. Please kill that mosquito. It's the one I hate the most.
I'll help you kill that mosquito. So thank you so much, Gina, for inspiring us this Wednesday night. And I hope to. Do you want to invite everyone to your podcast? I think you just recently launched your podcast, right?
Because I'm not busy enough, I took on another thing. And so I decided that I also wanted to interview, inspiring people, and especially those who are sort of not sharing their whole story. So I just launched my podcast on Monday. It's called Unconventionally. So it's people that I feel are doing unconventional things or have unconventional brands or ideas. So go check it out. You can go to ginaromero.com, which is my personal website. And there's a podcast button in the menu that takes you there. But it's on Spotify, iTunes, and the other places. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to flash there, ginaromero.com. Thank you. Thank you so much. And good night, everyone. We hope you have a great rest of the week and a great weekend. Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me. Bye.
Bye.